Welcome to Create If Writing, the podcast for writers and creatives dealing with the passion and the practice behind making good art. I'm Kirsten Oliphant, your host, and you can find more at createifwriting.com. Hey, welcome to Create If Writing. This is the episode where I talk to myself. Woo! It's kind of intimidating, as I've said before, to talk to myself because the energy you get from talking to other people is way more exciting. So what I did actually before I started this recording is I went on Periscope. And I don't know if any of you guys are on Periscope, but if you're not, if you're wondering what Periscope is, it's an app that's connected to Twitter that does live streaming videos. So like at this very moment, I could stream this recording, except my phone is dead. And people all over the world can watch it, and it disappears within 24 hours. And so I think it's going to change and adapt, but Twitter has put it out there. It was in competition with Meerkat. And I don't know much about Meerkat other than Twitter made its own, and so made it a little more difficult for Meerkat to sort of survive in that landscape. So anyway, I went on Periscope, and Periscope basically, it asks what you're seeing and you sort of type in a title of your video. And so I typed in taking writing questions because I had some of you ask questions on the Facebook group, but I thought that might get people talking. And so people were watching me sit at the kitchen table in front of the microphone, and they can type in questions and then you can speak the answers, and so they can hear them, and it's all in real time. And that's really kind of exciting. So I don't know if you're interested in Periscope, but I'm still figuring out, I think as most people are, what the capabilities are and what you could possibly do with it. But I enjoy the idea of being able to interact with people in live time that I don't know. And I think it found me some new fans. I don't know if they'll actually pan out to be fans or followers outside of that, but some people seemed interested in the site, and we talked writing, and it was kind of fun. So that's something you might want to check out as Periscope. We'll see how long it lasts, or maybe a year from now you'll be listening to this podcast and laughing because it's something that's either hugely important or that died out really quickly. But for now, it's hard to know when there's some new social media all the time. But because it's connected to Twitter, I feel like it has a little bit more of a chance. And then also, I will say it's been interesting to me since I started, because I was real hesitant to start. I tend to be the last person to jump on board, but I went on and, signed up, and then, I would just kind of go on and see what people in the world were doing, because I don't have that many people I follow who are on Periscope. If you are, by the way, find the show notes, which will be at createifwriting.com, and leave your Twitter handle, and I will come and find you on Periscope. But you can go on, and there were people today in the afternoon who were on a sailboat in New York sailing around the Statue of Liberty. And so in real time, I watched people sail by the Statue of Liberty, which is really cool. And then yesterday, during the day, I think it was, there's someone I follow now who is in Israel. And so they were walking around, and I'm not sure if they said what city they were in, but walking around Israel and filming in real time. And so it's really neat. That's not somewhere I've ever been in my life. And so to see it and just know that this is happening at this moment right now is kind of a cool thing. So I feel like for that part of our brain that's curious about things, Periscope might sort of activate that and may stick around. So again, we'll see. In a year, you could be laughing. In a month, you could be laughing if it's gone or if it's huge. But I figured for once, just in case, I'd be an early adopter and see what capabilities it has, or see how I might use it. So that being said, I'm here. Pretty much everybody's asleep but me, and I'm answering your questions. So we had a couple questions in the Facebook group. And again, if you want to join the Facebook group, just search for Create If Writing in the groups on Facebook, and I'll add you in. You can request to be added in. So Kelly, that's Kelly with an I, who is UK fan more, and both of those mores have two O's. That's her handle on Twitter, UK fan more, asked about building an email list versus social media. And there's another question about that from a few people, or a couple of people mentioned that. Jenna and Sarah also mentioned email list. So email list versus other social media. Well, I've been doing a lot of reading, whether that's blog posts or books, and taking courses and different things because I'm kind of a nerd about learning. And so what I have found is in these reading and also in my own experiences, email list is one of those things that I think is one of the harder ones to build, but I think it's one of the most valuable. And maybe that's why it's so hard to build, because I think when you have an email list, you have people who are saying, it's okay for you to send things directly to me into my inbox. As a lot of people talk about, it's them giving you permission to contact them. So it's something that's a little bit more, I don't want to say invasive, that's not really the right word, but it's a little bit more intimate than, say, Twitter. Like I will follow anybody on Twitter pretty much. And every so often I will go through a filter, like I think it's manageflitter.com. There's a few, if you just Google Twitter follower tools, you'll find some of those, but I'll go through and see if there's people that have not followed me back after a certain point of time, unless it's someone who's like a huge influencer or someone that I find has a whole lot of value. If they're not following me back, I usually will unfollow them. So, word to the wise, like if somebody follows you, you may want to follow them back. And then if you're not interested in what they say, you can unfollow them, or you could put them into a list and then they could be on the list. Make it a secret list, of course, but the list of people you don't want to read their tweets. But in any case, I will follow about anybody on Twitter. Facebook likes are kind of the same because Facebook doesn't really show you a lot of content from pages. Although for some reason, I think when I'm on Facebook, because it's more personal, like I'm friends with actual people on Facebook that I know in real life. If I do like a page, and I don't mean like me as a person like them, but if I press the like button on a page and then get a lot of annoying content, I will sometimes unlike that page. But rarely, because rarely do you see it unless you're paying for posts, which from all that I've heard and experienced, that's not really the best way to go, is boosting your posts is not the best. If you look up blogtyrant.com, he has a post actually this week and a podcast about that. And I'm interviewing him later in the week, which I'm super excited about because he's huge and very knowledgeable. So I'll ask him about email list. But everybody that I've read has been talking about how important the email list is because you own that essentially. Those are people who have said, yes, I want to hear what you're doing. I'm interested in what you're doing. And when I say email list, I don't mean sending it from your Gmail account or your Hotmail or your AOL. I mean a list that you have compiled and use something like MailChimp, which is what I use, or Aweber, which is what a lot of people use, or MadMimi, a lot of bloggers use that. And there are a few other ones, Constant Contact, an actual email provider. And the reason that you want to do that, there's a few reasons. One, they offer a lot of things that you just can't do in your email. But perhaps more important is legally, there are some anti-spam laws. And I'm small enough, like if I just sent out tons and tons of mass emails, doubtful that someone's going to come down on me. And I don't even know what they do if they did, like fine me. I don't know what happens, but it is the law. So, eventually down the road, say you explode and become huge. Like, first of all, you're not going to be able to manage that very well in your Gmail, and that may crash your server. And, another reason is if you send that kind of email through Gmail, a lot of times it goes to spam, whereas something that is recognized where you have said, yes, I want this in my inbox, your email is more likely to get it. And also, MailChimp will tell me like this many people opened it, this many got sent to spam, this many got sent back. So they have analytics and those kinds of things. As far as which email list to use, I'm using MailChimp. And I think if you don't have a ton of people on your email list or don't anticipate a ton of people, I think that's a great place to start because it's free up to a certain point. At that point is 2,000 people on your list. And this year, my goal is to break past that. And I think I probably will in the next couple of months. But once you break past that, you have to pay. And there are actually some options to pay with less people than that. But you could, I've been very happy with their service up until now for my followers who are under 2,000. Once you hit to the 2,000 mark, I think it'll cost me $30 a month. And so at that point, I really need to be asking myself, what am I doing that's paying for this? Like, am I using this email list well? So, that's a really good question to ask. Aweber starts out paying, and Constant Contact, I don't remember, but I will say I did not like them. I think I did a free trial with them. And Constant Contact is right. I think I got like 8 phone calls that first week. That's probably exaggerating. It was at least 2. Maybe 3 phone calls from Constant Contact. Now, I don't like using my phone. I don't like talking to people on the phone. So I did not want phone calls from Constant Contact. that week. So I will say that if you sign up, you will have someone calling you, and I'm sure they think that's really helpful. But for me, email would be better. I don't want to talk to somebody I don't know. I hardly talk to the people I know. I definitely don't want to talk to somebody that works at Constant Contact. Mad Mimi, I don't know as much about that. A lot of bloggers do use that, but I think MailChimp is a great basic way to go and get started. And, the thing you can do, I think, if you decide to ever switch, because when I hit that paid mark, when I was looking, Aweber has a lot of bells and whistles that MailChimp doesn't. And if the cost is comparable, I may switch over there and try to import my list. And I know you lose some followers in the transitions when you do that kind of thing, but that may be, the best option that I have. And so I think you need to just look at your options. But I think starting a mailing list, if you don't have one, is absolutely crucial. I think you just need to have that, even if it's a few people on there at a time. Maybe it's just your parents at first, and then you can slowly grow it. But that's, a list, no matter what happens to your blog. If you decide not to blog anymore, or if the internet eats your blog, you still have your email list. If you're not getting clicks through Twitter, I'm pretty active on Twitter. I have a pretty good following. I do not get very much traffic from Twitter. We're talking, I could probably click over right now and tell you what my traffic is from Twitter this week. So I'm going to actually do that right now, and I will tell you what my numbers are. But I don't get a ton of traffic from Twitter. And so, my email list, what I do, and there's different options. That's the other question is do you have an email list? Who are you using as an email list provider? And then what is your content? So I'll get to content in just a second. Okay. Here are some numbers for you for today. Facebook was my top referrer, which usually it's Pinterest. Facebook, I had 1,456 views. Pinterest, 749. Search engines, 49. Twitter, 5. So, that's a little bit crazy. Now I can go into MailChimp, and I'll do that right now and tell you how many people clicked through. So here's what I do for my content. For my content in my email, I send out hopefully a weekly email. Every now and then I miss a week. Usually not, but I can. Okay. I sent out an email today. I send it out usually on Sundays, sometimes Mondays. I did not have a great open rate today, but sometimes people open tomorrow. Through that, okay, so I had about a 19%, almost 20% open, which is lower than I would like it to be. Usually my open rate is between 20 and 30%, which is low, but the opening rates are just bad. So just realize that. Okay, so my list average is 33%, and the clicks that I had, 24 clicks. So let's see. Let's check out that recent campaign. So I'm looking at that. But so content, I will send out basically what is kind of like one of my blog posts. And it'll just be something that's not found on my blog, but it's in the weekly email. Today I talked about the cost of really living and how things like wrinkles and scars are a testament to the fact that you've really lived. And I told the story that really disturbed me about Priscilla Presley, that I read this interview with her one time where she talked about how Elvis, when she first married him, she was much younger than Elvis, and he would tell her not to make certain faces so she wouldn't get wrinkles. And I found that so disturbing on so many levels. But I remember that. It stuck with me. I don't know if you ever have those kinds of things that are weird, but anyway, it stuck with me. And so I was looking in the mirror the other day and noticing all these wrinkles on my face that I'm just like, really? How long have those been there? I guess I don't look in the mirror that often. So anyway, that story came back to mind about Priscilla Presley. And I feel like a lot of the reason I have so many wrinkles is I make a lot of facial expressions. I'm not holding myself back the way that Elvis told her to hold back so that she wouldn't get wrinkles. I also got way too much sun. Okay, so I'm in my email list now. So I said I had Twitter clicks were 5 today. So my email list that I sent out today, the total number of clicks. So I had 17 people read one of my posts. So I have unique content. Then below that, I will have links to my blog posts. And so far I'm using pictures to do that. I used to have it in kind of a sidebar, but I realized a lot of people are looking on mobile, and that gets pushed to the bottom anyway. So up top, I have a little header that matches my blog for branding purposes. Then I have my main content, which is like a fresh blog post. And then I'm playing with what goes below that. I have some social media channels that people can click, and a few people did click on those. And then I have kind of 2 columns at the bottom with photos in each column, and then a little blurb about those. And those are blog posts. Today, I added in a little section about what I've been reading online. And some people clicked through to those things. And then I also had a section for a blog post that I've been promoting for a couple weeks now. So here's the breakdown of that for my email list. So as I said, Twitter, for example, I have just over 3,000 followers on Twitter, but I got 5 clicks from content. And I think I shared a couple of blog posts today on Twitter. So today on my email list, I had 17 clicks on one link for my blog. I had 4 clicks on a link I shared that is something I'm reading. I had 3 clicks over to Periscope. I linked to that today. Another 2 clicks to a different blog post. 2 people clicked over to my Facebook page. 1 person clicked over to my YouTube page, which is sadly not updated. And then 1 person clicked over to another blog post. So that's a total of, a little over 20 clicks on my blog, and then another 5 or so onto social media. And that's just from today. So, that's still not a lot, but it's like 5 times what I got on Twitter. So that's one example of something. Now, again, as I said, my top referrer for today was Facebook, but generally speaking, so I'll go into Facebook, and this is just me giving you an example. I didn't really plan this, but thinking about what gets people to click through, because that was another question. Okay, so my Facebook page. So this week I had a post that did really well, and it was already doing well, and so I boosted it to see if that would help, and I can look. So I'll tell you about that post in a minute. But normally, okay, so here are a couple posts from today. I had a couple of just posts about what I'm doing. I posted to my email list, like, hey, sign up for my email list with a photo, because sometimes those do better. Only 78 people saw that. I have 2474. Only 78 people saw that post about my email list. Let's see, what else did I link to? I had a couple just funny things about Mother's Day. Around 200 people saw some of those. I linked to somebody else's content, 337. Another link to somebody else's content, 208. Another person's content, 226. A status update for me, 400. Man, I haven't linked to my own content enough. So the last post of mine this week, before the one I boosted, was one that's done really, really well on Pinterest. It's about boredom busters from the dollar store. And it's done great on Pinterest. As I said, it's one of my highest views on my blog, actually, total. Only 130 people saw it. And I used an image that was sized for Facebook. It had no likes, no engagement at all, 0. And I know that it's a post that's done well other places. So maybe it was the image, I'm not sure. Okay, so then I'll go up to the post I boosted. And that was my post. It was one of my favorite things I've written. It was actually an impromptu post. Today was Mother's Day as I'm recording this, and I am always kind of aware, because I have so many friends who have struggled with infertility, or I have a lot of friends too who don't want kids, and for a long time I didn't want kids. And I know from talking to those people that Mother's Day can be really difficult, because whether you want to be a mom or you don't want to be a mom, everybody's always up in your business. I mean, they're up in your business when you have a kid, but you're especially sensitive. If you've been trying, sometimes people know that and sometimes they don't, but it's just hard. And so sometimes people skip church or just don't go places, or it's just a hard day. So I wrote a post that was geared toward those people, and I really liked that post a lot. And so I posted it. 11,000 people were reached. So 130 to 11,000. Now you might think that means I need to boost a post, but we'll look at the analytics for that. So 64 people liked it, 35 people shared it, and then I had like 9 or so comments. 1 or 2 of those might be me responding to people. So that post, 11,464 people were reached. So, a ton more than that other blog post. Now, I will say it was very timely, and I think it was a really good post. Again, it was one of my favorites. So it had a lot more interaction, which I expected. So 11,000 people were reached. The organic reach was 8,875. So the post was already doing well with that. The organic means I didn't pay for it. The paid reach of the post, 2,653. Now I paid $5 initially and then added another $3. And I really shouldn't have done that because they're doing it slowly. So there's $2 left. The end of Mother's Day is today. And so I don't know who else is going to read the post. So essentially, I got some reach from the post. Some things got shared, that did drive a lot of traffic to my blog. I didn't really have a lot of new email subscribers, and I do have a pop-up now, which I've tried using on my blog. So all of this to say, yes, I had the most interaction this week from other places than my email list. My email list comes nowhere close to Pinterest and to Facebook in terms of traffic driving to the blog. It does do better than Twitter. But what the email list does is that 19% of people who opened it So 262 people opened my email. That's, still a fraction of how many people went to my blog. But if I think about those people as opening the email and hopefully reading through some content, and then I look at Google Analytics, my bounce rate is really high. So what that means is that people are not spending a lot of time on my blog. And that can be good or bad, because it can mean either one. Generally, I would like to think it's bad. But there's some reasons it may not be as bad as you think. It's bad because you want people to stay and read. And I'm talking about like people are on my blog less than a minute. So what I've found for me is that as my traffic numbers have grown, people are staying on my blog less. And I think that reason is because people are coming from Pinterest. And so some people click just to make sure that the pin they're finding that looks so good actually goes to a site and not some like dead end on the internet. So some people are just clicking through to make sure it's an actual blog, and they'll come back later if they want to, or like me, they pin things and may never go back. But in any case, they may just be clicking through. Other people are clicking through, finding that the post is great. It's exactly what they want, but they don't want anything else. And so they're not going to stay on your blog. So in some ways it's good because you've delivered the content that they want. What I would ideally like to see is people coming and staying. I'd like to see people coming and then wanting to read more content and wanting to interact and wanting to, have their eyes caught by some catchy headline or some photo in the sidebar and wanting to stay for minutes or hours, definitely more than a minute. I'm a writer. I want them to read what they see. So that's kind of disheartening, the bounce rate. But if I think about the email, I can't tell how long people are on the email, like if they're opening it and reading it. I did have a few unsubscribes, and that's disheartening, but I always try to think of those as people who are not really into what I'm doing anyway. And so at some point you're going to lose them. They're not really your fans. They're not going to be the ones who buy your book. They're not going to be the ones who are your biggest fans. So it's okay if people unsubscribe. And also, if you're getting to the point where you have to pay for an email list, you don't want those people if they're not interested in what you have to say, and if my open rate, we'll see how tomorrow it is, but if it, stays at 20%, then really I should get rid of a lot of people, shouldn't I? I don't want to pay for all these people who aren't opening. So this has all been a very long conversation with myself about email lists. To answer Kelly's original question, I would say yes, you want to build an email list. Absolutely. I think that needs to be the cornerstone. But like I said, I think it's the hardest to build. I have 1,300 email subscribers, a little over that right now. And that's been really hard to build. It's taken years, and I've had some big jumps and things like that. But when I've had jumps, often it's, through a giveaway or a contest or something, and I don't feel like those people stay or stick around or care what I'm actually doing. It's harder to win over people who, want you in their inbox. They already have a lot of things. I get a million emails a day that I don't care about. So I think it's hard to build. I think it's really important to build because who knows what could change in social media. Facebook has changed where if you liked a page, you used to be able to just see their posts. And now, like I said, they're hidden from people. I have, whatever, 2,500 Facebook likes, but like my last post before the boosted one, only 130 people saw it. Was it 78? Now, too many numbers, I don't remember. But either way, a fraction of how many people say they like my page and want to see my content are actually seeing it. So if you're relying on those kind of third-party things, you can't trust them. You don't know when they're going to change. So yes, get an email list. Now, as far as some of the other questions that have to do with email list, Sarah asked about a small loyal following versus many subscribers. And I think she mentioned in the question, it may depend on what you want to do. And I think exactly, I think definitely the more people you have, the more likely or the more chances you have that someone's going to open your content. But at the same time, if you have a small loyal following, I think that's huge. I think that a small loyal following can really give you a career. And Kevin Kelly is a person, I'll put a link to this in the show notes. Kevin Kelly kind of came up with this idea of having 1,000 true fans. And what he was saying is, if you're finding 1,000 true fans, you can make a living. And so again, I'll link to this post in the show notes at createifwriting.com. But he says in his post, a creator such as an artist, musician, photographer, craftsperson, performer, animator, designer, video maker, or author, in other words, anyone producing works of art, needs to acquire only 1,000 true fans to make a living. Now, a true fan, as he defines it, is someone who will buy anything and everything you make. They will drive 200 miles to see you sing. This is me reading from his post. They will buy the super deluxe reissued high res box set of your stuff, even though they have the low res version. So what he is saying in this post is that a small, and by small, 1,000, loyal following can give you a career. And I think that's a really important number to think about. Now, to play devil's advocate, I talked with a publisher, Chad R. Allen, and the podcast where I interview him will be up next week. But he was talking about from a traditional publishing standpoint, and just giving the example, if you want to publish a book that 10,000 for nonfiction, they want to see 10,000 email subscribers. Let me say that again. Traditional publishers want to see 10,000 email subscribers. And I just mentioned how hard it was to get, the 1,300, the little paltry number that I have. And I don't know if your number's bigger or smaller, but it's hard to get. It's hard sweat that goes into getting that email list. Do not ever buy an email list, by the way. I don't even know how you do that, but I know people do it. Don't do it. Because again, you're not getting these true fans. And so, I had this email list I sent out and 19% opened it. Are those my true fans? Maybe there's some of that 90% of the people who unsubscribed today, they opened it and said, who is this? I don't remember signing up for this. And they delete. They did sign up for it because I don't sign people up. I don't pay for emails or just sign people up. That's spam. But, 1,000 true fans can make a living. But a publisher wants to see 10,000 on your email list. And, 5,000 they said would be, Chad R. Allen said would be interesting and get your attention. But 10,000 will, if you have other things in place, perhaps get you a book deal. So it's a really, the numbers can get really heavy and really depressing. But I would say you want something of a mix. I think having many subscribers, you might, some of them are going to open, like you're going to get a percentage. But if you have a small, rabid following, like I think of some of these TV shows that have had a rabid following. I think of the show Jericho, and I don't know the full story, but we watched it on Netflix. And apparently the show got canceled, and so many fans were like outraged that they, saved up money to get the show made again for the last season so that they could tie up all the loose ends. And I think the fans actually paid for it the last season that they had. So it had a very small but rabid group of fans. And I think also of Veronica Mars, which is a show I loved. Also did not watch that in real time. I don't watch anything really in real time, but Veronica Mars is a show I liked a lot. And they had a great Kickstarter campaign. They knew fans wanted a movie. And so they did a Kickstarter campaign that was wildly successful. They did a really good job. I'll leave the link to that in the show notes as well. And they took their fan base and said, hey, we want to make a movie. We have no money. You want to see a movie? Well, put up some money. And so people put up money, and it was crazy. And they made a really good movie. I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was, if you didn't watch the show, I think you would probably enjoy it. But fans of the show, I think it was exactly what I just wanted it to be longer. Really, it was very disappointing to go from seasons of a show to have like a 2-hour show. Movie, which seemed like, the show, it just seemed short. But all this to say, I think a rabid following of 1,000 people, from what it sounds like from Kevin Kelly, can get you money, can get you a living from whatever it is that you're creating. But many subscribers is also good because, publishers want to see that. I think if you're a blogger, you want to work with brands, they want to see those numbers. That's important to them. So maybe there's a balance somewhere in between finding those true fans and having an email list that's 10,000, but 1,000 are your real fans. But then I have to ask myself, because my goal is to get to the point in my email list where I have to pay for it, which is over 2,000. How many people do I want to keep that are just dead weight? If they're not opening my email, do I want them on my list? Do I want to pay for each of those people? So maybe I'll try some different experiments to see what will work with that. But those are the questions I'm going to answer for now in this week's episode of Creative Writing. And I want to give a little shout out to Audible. You can get your own free trial at audibletrial.com/creativewriting. I am becoming more and more of a fan of audio things. My husband is a huge fan of them because he doesn't like reading very much. We're kind of opposites, but I really like audio stuff now because I don't have a lot of time to read, or I guess I should say I don't make a lot of time to read. I'm doing a lot of writing and blogging and child wrangling. But when I'm in the car, when I'm at the gym, that's the time when I listen to a lot of things. And so something like Audible can be really great. One of the things that's very exciting that's coming up on Audible is they're going to have Harper Lee, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. And if you've heard anything about her recently in the news, you know that she's coming out with her second book. They found a manuscript of hers that she had written. And so that's going to be available on Audible. And it's being read by Reese Witherspoon, who I think is a great choice to represent Harper Lee's sort of writerly voice in that book. So that's one thing you can check out on Audible. You get a free trial for 2 weeks. You can visit audibletrial.com/createifwriting. It doesn't cost you any extra to do that, and it helps support the show. So I would love to have you join the Facebook group. You can just search for Create If Writing. I don't have a page, I just have the group, so you can join that. You can also find the show notes at createifwriting.com. My personal blog is kirstenoliphant.com, where I write about things other than writing. My Twitter handle is Kiki Mojo. That's KIKIMOJO. That was my roller derby name, if you're ever wondering, and kind of a nickname from my brother and my roommate in college. But you can follow me on Twitter if you want to see the content I'm sharing, which is mostly about social media stuff. Also some humor. And if I'm doing any Periscope videos, which I am going to be continuing to try Periscope, you can follow me on there as well through my Twitter account, Kiki Mojo. So thanks so much for listening. If you have a chance, I would love for you to leave a review on iTunes. That helps me get noticed. It gets new fans in and helps me keep the lights on, so to speak. Although I'm actually recording this kind of in the dark, but it helps keep me in business and afford the show. Thank you for listening. I hope you have an inspired week.